Shalom lekulam, and welcome to our 8th class for the intermediate lessons in Kabbalah. In this lesson, we're gonna cover the word of correction, Gadlut, and the words of Briah, and how they came to be, basically. And we're trying to do in every lesson, we're not trying to study Kabbalah for the sake of studying it. We're trying to study Kabbalah for the sake of bringing the upper light. In fact, that's the reason why this group was named Receiving the Upper Light, is because the whole goal was basically to get together, study Kabbalah, and not to gain knowledge, but to bring the upper light to us, to attract the upper light, to have the same desire of attracting the corrections that we need properly, and that's the whole point of basically of us studying Kabbalah. And going on that thought, we are starting the classes with a intention, and this intention is basically a way to connect or tune in to the energies, of the subtle energies of creation. And as we study, we have to connect to those energy constantly. We have to remind ourselves of what is the purpose of us studying Kabbalah, because knowing all these wisdom and looking at the graphs and drawings and basically having an idea how things we assume worked or work in the universe and in the spiritual realm, those things, knowing those things, are not going to help us spiritually. They might make us smarter, but they don't help us spiritually if we don't have the proper intention, the proper purpose for us to study it. So in order to do that, we're going to start with an intention, and that intention is based on the unity. There's a lot of this unity out there, people taking sides and on political parties, taking sides on religious arguments, social arguments, and all that. And we don't want to do the same thing when it comes to spirituality. When we're talking about spiritual themes, subjects, we want to make sure that we're all in the same page. So even though you're going to hear a lot of people talking about Kabbalah, teaching Kabbalah, at the end, Kabbalah asks every person that teaches Kabbalah and every person that studies Kabbalah for one thing, and is unity. Love the Creator and love your fellow human being. So that's why we're going to start with this class with the intention that you should have in front of you right now. So let's read it. It says, unity is reached with the help of the love we feel for the Creator. To arrive to love of the Creator, we must first have love for others. Through love for others, we attract the upper light. The upper light has one condition to come down to us, and it is that we form a common vessel in the image and similarity of the Creator, where He can be revealed. Okay? So, what is this intention trying to tell us? When it says unity is reached with the help of the love we feel for the Creator. So it is, all of us that are studying Kabbalah and are looking for spiritual means of connecting with the Creator, we want that connection out of love. We want that correction because we really feel that there's something beyond ourselves, that there's something out there. And when I say out there, it's basically symbolic, because in spirituality there's no out there, there's no inside, there's no up or down, but talking in human terms, something out there, out of our own ego, out of our own knowledge of this world. And we sometimes fail in loving God, as we say, but we don't love then the creatures that the Creator have created. And that's why the intention says, to arrive to love of the Creator, we must first have love for others. Why? Because the Creator created them and put them there in our way, in our lives, for a reason. Whether it is the co-worker that bothers you at work, whether it is your significant other, whether it is your mother, father, your friend. It doesn't matter who they are, the stranger, the person that cuts you in the highway. It doesn't matter who they are. You need to be thankful. You need to be sending light to those people whenever you are in good terms with them or in bad terms with them. That's the way we actually attract the upper light. When we attract the upper light, we make our life easier, because we're not living by the path of pain, we're living by the path of light. And the path of light helps us advance properly and faster. But if we choose the path of pain, which is the path of being reactive to anything that happens in our lives, then we'll be in pain, because that's what the path of pain is all about. We'll be in pain, we'll be all the time saying this life doesn't make sense, this people doesn't make sense, what the world has come to, because we don't see the good behind it. We don't see that the Creator is good, that does good, that He doesn't create garbage, to say it like that. That everything exists for a reason, even evil exists for a reason. If there was no evil, how can we be doing any good? If there's no darkness, there's no light. Light without darkness cannot exist. The problem with us is that we want everything in our lives to be according to our points of view, and our points of view are usually in our imagination, is an illusion, because they're based on what we think is the right thing, or what other people has put in our brain that is the right thing. And the only thing that is true and is real is that even though we see each other as different, we have different points of view and different ideas and different political views, philosophies, social ideas of how society can work better and all that, we're all one. And if we arrive to that basically main idea that we are one, that everything that I do affects the other, everything that the other does affects me, we can achieve love above those things that we think bother us, from other people. And as I say, love covers all the faults, So when we achieve that love, I can see a person that is from a different political party, from a different viewpoint about society and everything, and I can still be a friend with that person. I can still, have a conversation with that person, and also have the same goal, a spiritual goal. The problem is that we are paying more attention to these physical issues than the spiritual issues, and both sides don't meet in the middle where they need to meet and find that neutral part that is called spirituality. And it says in the intention, through love for others we attract the upper light, but the upper light has one condition to come down to us, and it's that we form a common Clothe, a common vessel, that we become one soul, one heart, one man, one creature, a common vessel in the image and similarity to the Creator, where He can be revealed. Meaning, as the Creator is good, we need to be good. As He does good, we need to do good. As He is all giving, we need to be all giving. Basically, we don't have to be God. We are similar and in the image of God. We can create all these things by doing it to each other, by doing it, doing good things for each other, by helping each other advance spiritually. Because if we bring everything that we've done in life into a spiritual to a spiritual level, we will understand then why are we working in the work that we're working, why are we living in the nation that we're living, why are we believing in the political party or in the philosophy that we believe in, or in the religion that we follow, and all that. But it all comes in understanding that all these are consequences of the upper realm. And that's what we're doing here, is we're studying this upper realm to see where everything came to us, why we're seeing each other as apart as we see each other at this moment, and how can we go back to basically the beginning, and in this time, correct it. So in the last lesson, we were talking about how, let me see if I can get the board here. We were talking about how basically the development of the light was based on different stages, and these stages basically have to do with a desire to receive that wasn't independent, a desire to bestow that wasn't independent yet, then a desire to receive in order to bestow, and then we have a desire to receive for itself, and that was an independent desire. Then we mentioned that these 4 stages, these 4 Behinot, Behina Aleph, Behina Bet, Behina Gimel, and Behina Dalet. In Behina Dalet, that's where basically all that we were discussing in the previous lesson happened. It's a desire to receive for itself, but then it feels shame, as using the word shame as a symbolic way of a person that receives all that the host host invite him to a house, and the host start giving him food, and then the person is eating, and just because I love eating, I love this food and all kind of stuff, but they forget that the host was the one that made that food, and the host is the one that also needs to be thanked for being able to make this food. And that's when they feel shame, because now I'm eating, but I had nothing to give in exchange. And if I had nothing to give in exchange, then what can I give back? What you can give back is basically a thank you, and also eating properly in the way that the host can enjoy you tasting and enjoying the food, and that's the joy and the pleasure that the host will receive when you eat that food. So how this Behinat Dalet does that is by putting a masach, a screen, and stopping the light from coming in. That's the Sinsum Aleph, or first Sinsum, and the only way it will achieve this basically correction of this egoistic desire is by letting light go in different stages and reflecting the other light out. And it's through the reflection of that light that goes out, this is where the vessels of bestowal are created. We got the vessels of receiving, and then in the rejected light you're going to have the vessels of bestowal, giving back to the Creator. Okay? Then as it receives, let me go back, it creates a parsuf called Adam Katmon. So this is the first parsuf that is going to appear, Adam Katmon. And Adam Katmon is based on desire 4 and 4. And the desire 4 and 4, we talk about the memories of desire called Avyut, and memories of the light called Hitlashut. These are Reshimot. It's called, Reshimot in Kabbalah, memories. And that means that Dalet, it means Malchut, okay? Malchut. So it receives the light, it will feel the light just to a certain extent. It will feel the Kli actually with light to a certain extent. But the rest down here is empty. It's empty. So what's going to happen is it will take another set of Parsufim, as we can see here. Galgata is basically Adam Katmon, which is Reshimot 4:4, as we went through this in the last class. and it will create a tabur, and that tabur actually will make the rest of the kli remain empty, because those are vessels of egoism. They're purely egoistic. But then the pressure of the or makif, the pressure of the basically the light of the surrounding light, the pressure of the surrounding light. Let me move this a little bit so you can see where I am. So this pressure of the or makif and the pressure of the or pinimi, the inner light, will make the tabur go all the way to the peh. And when it does that, it creates another parsuf called ab, which is Chokmah. Alan Katnut here, Galgaltes Keter. Ab is Chokmah. And we've been about them, we was playing this in another class about the names of each of these parsuf, Ab, Sag, Ma, Ba, Ma, and Bon, with the miluim of the name of the creator, of the feeling of the name of the creator. According to the numbers, that's the name we have. So we have these, basically this parsuf Av, made of Reshimot 4-3, basically Reshimot Mahut and Tifaret. So the same thing happened here. We have pressure from the surrounding light, pressure from the inner light, and the tabur raises itself up to the peh of Ab and makes a parsuf called Sag. And this parsuf Sag receive pressure from the or makif, the surrounding light, and pressure from the inner light, and the tabur raises. And it raises, remember, these are nekudot. This light over here is the nekudot. In there, you're gonna find also reshimot, and the same numbers that you have here, 4-4, 4-3, 3-2. So there's reshimot over here as well, as they change from 3-2 to 2-1, which is Ma. There's a part over here where the reshimot are 2-2, which is Bina Bina. And if you remember, I mentioned before, Bina is desire to bestow. So what happened is that the light goes down, and these vessels here, Mahut, they are egoistic. So what it does is the following. Since we're here, okay. So in Sag, the light goes down to these vessels, and in here, Mahut says, you know what? These are egoistic vessels. I cannot accept that light. I can only accept in order to bestow. Otherwise, I will not accept anything. So he rejects the light. However, because of this part below the tabur, the light can enter, because these vessels over here are not that egoistic. That's why you got Keter, Chokmah, Bina, Chesed, Geburah, and 1/3 of Tifaret. They're not that egoistic. Malchut creates a restriction. He rises all the way to the 1/3 of Tifaret and creates what is called a parsa. And that is called Sinsum Bet, or second restriction. Okay? And what happened is, after that, then there's another sivug, and this sivug, it's on a more egoistic sivug, let's put it that way, because it's done on the Reshimot 4-3, and 4-3 is basically like Chokmah. Chokmah is giving, right? It's giving. So Reshimot 4.3 in Sag, and this is of course we're talking about Nekudot the Sag, the little. Let me go back to make sure. The little, this light that is reflected back, all these are little Reshimot. So that's what's happening. We're talking about this here, about Nekudot the Sag. So what happened is in Nekudot the Sag, there's a sibuk there, and because it's on 4, which is Mahut, it's desire to receive, and on 3, which is desire to receive in order to give, it makes the light go all the way down, this time again, but it does something. It breaks all the vessels, and all the vessels that are broken here, it's called the Shevirah HaKalim, now make the lights that were inside them fall below the upper Parsufim, the upper, because all these are Parsufim, the upper Sefirot. Okay, so that's what we're gonna be talking now, is how now we're gonna fix this, how the system fixes itself, right? So what we have is, after the Shevirat HaKalim, we have something called a state of Ibur, okay? And state of Ibur is basically a state of a fetus. It's like a baby when the mother is impregnated. Now we have a cell that multiplies itself. So now we're gonna see this parsuf growing and growing and growing to the point that we're gonna see that it becomes other parsufim below tabur as well. And this is in order to correct all these vessels that were broken at that time, right? So a state of Ibur, and in that state of Ibur, what we're gonna see is that there's a sibuk done in Reshimot 1.0, and that's Parsuf Atik. Okay, so let's read from the book, Opening the Gates of Creation, and we're gonna see, how this actually works. Okay, so one thing that you need to remember is that Adam Katnut, Ab, and Sag are part of the world of Adam Katmon. Parsuf Ma is in the world of Nekudim, and Bon is in the world of Atzilut. Ma contain within Avi, Yesud, and Da'at, because it is an imprint of Adam Katmon. Bon is an imprint of the worlds above it. So Bon is going to have, like we have mentioned before, everything in Kabbalah, everything is basically like a fractal. Everything repeats itself. So Olam Atzilus start in a state of Katnut, okay? And we're talking about this area here, below the Tabur. So the Shevirah HaKalim happened here, right? And now what we're gonna have is that we're in a state of Katnut, Ibur, and then as Sivug happened on the memories 1.0, which is basically memories of Keter and Shoresh, and it's done in Metzach. It's from Metzach actually that everything after that Sivug that everything start going into a correction. So what we have is basically the Hagat Nehi, but these are vessels of bestowal, and this is a state of Ibur, a state like a baby, and this parsuf is called Atik. And then Atik eventually makes another sibuk in the Rosh, a sibuk of 2.1. So you see how it's growing now from each of these desires to grow bigger and bigger, and this way create the world of Atzilut. So when a parsuf is in a state of Katnut, it is say that it's in a state of embryo, because Canute means small, right? or Ibur. In such a state, Atzilut has Hitlashut 1 and Abiut 0. There are no Kelim in Hagat, meaning Hesed, Geburan, Tifaret. So it uses the Kelim of Nehi. As it grows, acquiring Hitlashut 2 and 1, which is what we saw here, it is said that it is in a state of Yenika. Yenika means a state of suckling. A baby is born and now depends on the mother, right? Once it reaches Aviut Gimel, it is considered to be in a state of adulthood. So Gimel, 4 and 3, here, then it is in a state of Gadlut. Atik, however, you need to understand this. However, Atik, even though it's a state of Gadlut and reaches all the way to the Siyum, is not affected by the second restriction. It's not affected by Tzimtzum Bet. That's why it says Atik as in Tzimtzum Aleph right here, because it's not affected by the Tzimtzum Bet that happened before the Shavirat HaKalim, which created the Parsa. So it can go all the way down to the Parsa. And that's something very important to understand, because a lot of people get confused. They see how come the Atik, when he's in Gadlut, can go all the way down. And it's because Atik belongs to the word of Akudim, not Nekudim, not Nekudot, the word of Akudim. Akudim is a state of chaos and does not break. Okay, it is different than Nekudim, which is a state of chaos and breaks. Okay, so that's the reason why it can be in a state of, or in a world of chaos, but it doesn't break like it happened here in the world of Nekudim. So Akudim, Nekudim. Okay, repeat it again. The world of Akudim is a state of chaos, but it doesn't break. Nekudim, which is a previous world, right, is a world of chaos, but it does break. Okay, and it is ruled by the laws of Tzimtzum Aleph. This parsuf here, Atik in Reshimos 4:3. It is separate from the lower ones and their neshamot or soul. Atik serves as the keter of the Olam Hatzilut. So we already have here something different. So this is a keter. This is basically, if we're going back to the beginning when we were looking at parsufin after Tzimtzum Aleph, this is basically the Galgalta of the lower parsufin after the breaking of the vessels. Okay, so this is Atik is basically the Galgalta of the souls. Atik reaches Gadlut. Rosh Hashanah gives it all to the Reshimot that rose, and after Shavirat, Atik performs with the finest memories, and create a parsuf from the state of Ibur to state of Gadlut. This new parsuf expand from Pe the Atik. So the Pe of Atik is going to be here, but now what we're going to see is that it's going to start using the best vessels that it can work with, because here, you know, these are still egoistic. So in order to create the word of Atzilut completely like it is, it needs to make a sivug with the best vessels, which are the vessels that are not egoistic. And this new parsuf expand from Pede Atik to the Parsa, and it is called parsuf Hokma of Arin Camping. So Atik here now is on their laws of Tzimtzum Bet. Here it went all the way there, and now it needs basically to restrict itself to the Tzimtzum Bet, meaning no light below the Parsa. And the next parsuf extend from its Pe, its mouth, all the way to what it says, the Parsa, right? The way to the Parsa, and that is parsuf Arin and Pin. Okay, and that's parsuf Hokma or Arin Camping, right? Then Atik gives all the remaining Reshimot that rose to Rosh of the Sag to Arin Camping, and he performs a sivuk in the finest one and create a new parsuf called Bina, or Olam. Bina of Olam Hasilu, also called Abi. So it says Hogma, Keter, Hogma, Bina, and then after that it does the same thing. It gives, the best, finest one, and creates Barsu Bina of Hasilu. Then this Parsuf expands from Pe of Iron Camping all the way to the Parsa. Then the next one from the Pe of Abba Beima, but we're gonna see that another Parsuf is born, and that is Ser Ampin, which is Tifaret of Atzilut, and it expands all the way to the Parsa. And the same thing happens with the next one, which is Malchut, from the Pe of Ser Ampin all the way to the Parsa. At this point, we need to remember that Olam Asilu is in Binah and the rest of the world Biyah are in Malchut. So, in a previous class, I mentioned that it was important for us to understand that here, this is considered Binah and this is considered Malchut. Okay? So one is a giver, and the other one is basically, let me put this so we can see better, and one is a receiver, right? One is a receiver. So all these vessels over here are basically Bina. All these down here are considered Malchut. So when you read the book of Genesis and you hear about the 6 days of the week being basically, being part of the correction, we start with the letter Beit. That implies, not only that this is a house or a different creation, a second creation, or a second system that was created after Tzimtzum Aleph, and then after Tzimtzum Bet and the Shavira HaKalim, this new system of correction was created, but also implies Bina. It implies that it's in a system, and this system is a very altruistic system that wants to correct this soul down here by giving them the light. And that's why the word of Atzilut is created. And as we read the book of Genesis, you're going to see where all this falls, because these 6,000 years of corrections that we're talking here, they're called weekdays. These are the weekdays of creation, and this is Shabbat, which is the 7th day. And if you remember, it was on the 6th day that Adam sinned, and he never reached Shabbat in order to eat from the tree of life properly before eating of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And we're gonna see all that, so keep that in mind, that we're basically seeing right here already a blueprint of the book of Genesis, what's gonna happen in Genesis. So we also mentioned that in the mixing and all that the word of Aksilut was basically the Galgalta 9 was used to create the word of Atsilut, and the Galgalta and 9 in a hab was used to create the word of Biyah. And Biyah is bestower, but it contains inside also a hab, which is vessels of reception. And then the rest, which is a hab inside Galgalta and 9, is used by the human souls, and by performing corrections and mitzvot. And this way, they can raise the rest of the worlds above the Parsa and all the way to Atzilut. So this is the Parsa here, right? Let me see if I can get a straight line. So this is the Parsa here, the Parsa. The human souls, by raising themselves upward, they will also raise all these lights that are down here hidden in the darkness. So what they're doing is basically raising the sparks that fell below, and they're called basically the Ahab because Ottenhausen P, which is nose, mouth, and ears, they're considered vessels of reception. Okay, and Gagaltai 9, which is vessels of pistol, which is Gagaltai 9 means the skull and the eyes. They basically want to give. They're vessels of pistol. Okay. Now going back, we're now going to enter the words of Briah, Yetzirah, and Assiah. And after Sinsum Bet, the place of Bia was created. So after Sinsum Bet, let's go back to our previous. So after Sinsum Bet, even though it's not at all mentioned here, there was already the creation of places for this world to exist. So what you're gonna have is a place for Briah, Yetzirah, and Assiah. So basically, a space was created for that to exist there. They were not yet the worlds, but it was called a place. Makom, a place basically, or Makom is actually a desire to receive. Something wanted to be there, right? And the place of Bia after Sinsum Bet is located in the lower part, the 2/3 of Serampin. So what you're gonna find, this is the 1/3 Serampin, and this is the 2/3 of Serampin. So it was located basically on that area of the vessels of Nehim and the 2/3 of Serampin. So the creation of Briah was by a Sivuk in Bina the Atzilut. This is Parsu Serampin raised to Abba and Nukba to Ima, that is called Yesut. So we talked in the past about Yesut, and what Yesut is actually, Yesut is a Parsuf or Parsufim that are basically located in what is called the lower parts of Abi. So Yesud stand for Israel Saba Vetemuna, and Israel Saba is the male, so he takes on the vessels of Abba, and Tebuna is a female, so she takes on the vessels of Ima, lower vessels, vessels of reception. So that's what it's all about. So the birth of these worlds, so remember we mentioned about Sinsum Bet, and that there was a place for them created in Sinsum Bet. So here probably you can see it more clearly. This is Sinsum Bet, and this is the place created for the words of Briah, or Bia. Then Atik are encamping Ava Veima zone. Down here you're gonna find Yesut, and then around here that's where the book of Genesis starts, right? But let's see how Olam Briah was born. Olam Briah was born, like it says here, by a Sivuk and Bina Atzilut. And it happened that the word Briah was born by a Sivuk in Abi, attaining the light of Neshama. This means at the moment of birth, Briah was at the level of Serampin the Atzilut. So this is how you need to see it. This is, let me highlight it. This is Serampin of Atzilut, right? So if Briah was at the level of Serampin the Asilut, then Bia needs to be at the same level of Asilut. So this is Briah basically. This is Atzilut, right? All this is Serampin of Atzilut. So you're gonna find Serampin of Atzilut there. And Briah now covers basically all this space, right? Which is Serampin of Atzilut. So that's Briah. Okay, trying to color it to see if I can give you some idea, so you can. Then Yetzirah was created at the level of Nukba, the Asilut. So Yetzirah, if we look at who is Nukba here, Nukba is gonna be found says Sefirot, Nukba, the Asilut. So Nukba, the Asilut, that will be this part here. So what you're gonna find is that now you have, because all this is basically the Malchut, you're gonna find Yetzirah. Yetzirah is actually, if you look at it right now, it's gonna be taking the place of Briah. Okay, so it's taking the place of Briah, Briah, and then we're gonna talk later about why the Sefirot are 6-4 instead of being 4-6 or 3 and 7. So what's happening is that after that, its 6 lower Sefirot are in the place of the lower 6 of Briah. So the 6 lower Sefirot are in the place of the lower 6 of Sefirot. That's why you see these over here. Then in Serampin the Asilut, Nukba is in 2 states. It's Panim Bepanim, which is face to face with Serampin, and which that means the Serampin is dressing the Nukba vows with 10 Sefirot, right? So basically what it means, that the Nukba is dressed, like you see here, Malchut is dressed in 10 Sefirot. And also Achor Be'achol down 1 level with 4 Sefirot over the Parsa. So if it is Achor Be'achor, it's basically like if he has basically fell down a level, right? Fell down a level, and then what you're gonna find is that the Sefirot, instead of being dressed 10 Sefirot with Serampin, which is a Panim Bepanim, now it's Achor Be'achol that is touching only these vessels of reception of Serampin. Let's see what else we got. And now we're gonna go to the world of Assiah. Assiah was born from Malchut the Atzilut, and Malchut the Asilut, let me see if I can get a different color here, blue. Malchut the Asilut is this here. And Assiah was born from that, right? So let me put this in. We have here Briah, we have Yetzirah, and now we have Assiah, right? So we're gonna have is now following. Let me highlight it so you can have an idea where it is located. It's right here. And what's happening is that even though you see these in different colors, I'm just doing this, in order to help you out and see all that. But the reality is that this, let's say, Briah goes all the way down. Yetzirah goes all the way down, and Briah goes all the way down, and Yetzirah goes all the way down to this place over here called basically the parsa. Everything that is below the parsa, and it's gonna be this area here, is gonna be called Mador HaKlipot. Mador HaKlipot is a place of the klipot. That's where everything fell down, or is going to fall down, as well when Adam Harishon sins. So that's where everything fell down when the Shevirat HaKelim happened, right? So, in order for us to understand that, is that we need to have in mind that all of these worlds clothe each other. They're basically one clothing each other out. It's like an onion, basically. So you're gonna have the word absolute, and you're gonna have then the other words in basically inside it, being clothed by it, and all the way to the darkest area, which is gonna be in the center. And there's a teaching actually when we study the Igulim, the lights of Igul, the lights, the surrounding lights, in which we can explain also these as near and far. What's the light that is near? What's the light that is far? What is the light that is more pure, and what is the light that is less pure, and all that kind of stuff. And you'll be surprised how then these something gets more confusing. Alright, but for now, let's just pay attention to what we have here. So this is how the word of Bia were born, right? And what we're gonna see is that they are gonna be the blueprint for the rest of creation after that. The word olamot, and the word olamot in Hebrew is the plural for olam, and it is referred, or it alludes to the word alum, which means hidden, secret, and unknown. And the word for eternity and universe, known as Elom or Olam. From this we may conclude that Olamot are filters, or are covers of the light, and they actually, because light it's not, if we don't have these filters, if we don't have these masachim or covers, then everything else below might be broken again, right? And that's the reason now everything is hidden. That's the reason we are studying Kabbalah, and we're using all these graphics kind of stuff. Does that mean that what we see here, it's something that this is the way the creation was made? This is a way for us to see. It's not necessarily steps like that. We call it a ladder, because it's the only way we can perceive the spiritual realm, by comparing it with things that we know in the physical realm. We can only perceive this according to what happened to us, according to the breaking. So according to the breaking, we need to see things different, or separated, in order to see them as a whole as well, put them back together as a whole. So we're seeing parts in here, but in reality all this is one thing. This is not separated at all, but our perception see it as separated, because that's part of the Shevirat HaKelim and Shevirat HaNefesh, the breaking of the soul. We broke apart, so everything is apart, right? So inside this, and I'm running out of time, but that's good, because this is the next class. Is gonna be very important for you guys. And before we start with the book of Bereshit, we're going to talk about Adam HaRishon. And inside these worlds, a new system needs to be created, and that system is called Adam HaRishon, the first Adam, and that's the Adam that you read when you read that you know when you read the Bible, the book of Genesis, the book of Bereshit. Adam HaRishon is a creation that differs from everything that preceded him. Adam HaRishon is born from the Malchut of Ein Sof, and this makes him a legitimate creature. In addition to this, Adam HaRishon, just as the world of Briah, was born from Malchut de Asilut, when Malchut de Asilut rose to Abba Ve'ima. It is for this reason that Parsuf Adam HaRishon is found always inside the worlds of Briah. So inside these worlds, what you're gonna find is a Parsuf that is basically inside or residing inside these worlds, right? And that Parsuf is Adam HaRishon, right? Parsuf Adam HaRishon. And he says that he was born, from the Malchut of Ein Sof, and Malchut of Ein Sof is exactly what we are studying, Malchut of Ein Sof, right? And how inside Malchut of Ein Sof all these things are taking place. But specifically when Malchut de Asilut, which is when it's elevated, that's when Adam HaRishon is born. So you're gonna see Malchut de Asilut basically went up to the place of Avi, which is this place right here, right? So from here, he went up basically to Serampin all the way to Abba Ve'ima. So what we see is from Malchut all the way to Bina. And when that happened, a new creation is created. That creation is called Adam HaRishon. Okay? And we mentioned before that when the souls raise themselves, let me go back to that. When the souls they rise up to the previous state, or the state that is above them, everything else below also goes up, right? Everything else also it's basically dragged with them. So that's the importance of us, all of us advancing spiritually, because as we advance, we're helping others advance. As we learn Kabbalah and we apply this in our lives, we're helping others indirectly to advance as well. Because if we advance, nature is going to force other people to advance as well somehow. And sometimes it's not by force, it's by the example that we give that they come to realize that they need to advance. So that's what happened here. When Malchut de Asilut decides to go to this level of Abi, all these words also, were erased. And that's why you're going to find that Arin Camping is going to be also raised. Abi is going to be also raised. And Zon, which is Malchut itself, is going to be raised, because Malchut to be raised like that, also Zerampin is going to be raised to a level of Avi, to a level of Arin Camping, okay? So we're going to see that that's basically the ascent of the worlds. And in the ascent of the worlds, the rising of the Olamot, we're going to see the secret of Shabbat as well. So we're not going to learn in the next lesson only how the worlds actually work, or worked in order to create Adam HaRishon, but we're going to learn also how, as they rise and go down, the different stages of what we call Shabbat, and why then in Bereshit it was important for Adam on the sixth day to wait for that Shabbat to happen, which is a higher level of those worlds, being at the top of what we call the Tabur. What happened is, because of his sin, then everything that was above the Tabur that was already correcting fell, and fell all the way down to what we call Mador HaKlipot, which is this area over here. So all these words that we're raising, and in order to create something great, something that Adam HaRishon was gonna be the creature that was gonna basically bring the redemption to all these chaos, all of a sudden they fall all the way down. So Olam Assiah falls all the way down to the Mador HaKlipot, which is the place of the Klipot, okay? And that's what's going to happen next when we study Adam HaRishon and the rising of the Olamot. And that is going to be kind of, I don't want to say complicated. We just want to dedicate, a little more time, because that will be the class or the lesson that will give us a prelude and an entrance to the book of Bereshit, and then after that we will use the book of Bereshit to study then the rest of creation and to the point that we are. And so to do a little bit of recap, we were Galgalta, there was Sinsum Aleph, then Chokmah, everything was basically fine. It was Malchut, right? But the vessels below the Tabur, all these vessels down here, they were basically empty until Sa comes in with its Reshimo and start basically having an interaction with Malchut. Malchut decides, I cannot receive this light, so it created a restriction. It raised itself all the way to a point called the Tabur, and from that point down, light could not enter. However, because of Reshimot in Nekudot Esag, the light went all the way down the Tabur again, and in this time it created a breaking of the vessels. The breaking of the vessels, then, what created was a division or a mixing of vessels of bestowal with the vessels of reception, and it needed to be corrected. In order to be corrected, then there's a system called Atik that is created, and that system Atik, when it started in a form of Ibur, then it started growing to the point that when we see it completely in Gadlut, it's in a state of Gadlut that doesn't get affected by the Sinsum Bet that Malchut created when it rejected the light for the first time, and after Sinsum Aleph. Atik is here basically ruled by the laws of Sinsum Aleph, which is not the same as the other one. But then he start using the vessels of bestowals only, and these vessels of bestowal, then we're gonna have Atik in Sinsum Bet, and by using this vessel he start creating then these different parsuf called Arin Camping, Avi, Serampin, and Malchut. After that, what we're gonna see is that out of these parsuf, we're going to have the worlds of Bia being born. So we're gonna have basically the world Absolute already created by Arin Amping, Avi, Serampin, and Malchut. And then what we're gonna see is that from these parsuf, when they rise in self, because Atik was here, Atik raised all the way above the Tabur, as we see here, each one of them 1 degree, and that brings basically the birth of Olam Briah, then Olam Yetzirah, Olam Assiah. What's going to happen is when Malchut rises itself up another degree, or 2 degrees in this case, basically we're going to see this Arin Camping going above and Atik above, and we will see that a creature is born. That creature is called Adam HaRishon, which is the first Adam of the Adam that we see in the Bible. And that Adam of the Bible is the one that we're going to study in the next class, because it's from that creature that we're going to see from the birth of that creature, we're going to see what is the secret of Shabbat, the Shabbat that we celebrate symbolically in the physical realm. Because Shabbat is not a day, Shabbat is a state, a spiritual state. But if we're celebrating it physically, we're going to see what is the secret behind it, why the 3 meals and that kind of stuff have anything to do with this in Kabbalah. So stay tuned for the next class. I hope you have enjoyed. This class was kind of complicated. I covered a lot of stuff in little time, basically an hour. Feel free to go back to it, and go back to it. I have put the PDF files for your reference in www.receivingtheupperlight.com. So you go there to intermediate classes and you're going to see 2 PDF files that you can download with these graphics that you can use as you watch the video. You can use to make your own notes in those graphics as well, just to make it easier for you. Okay, so this is all I have for now. I'll see you in the next class. Thank you very much for being with us. Next class is going to be Adam Arishon and the rising of the worlds of Abiyah. See you in the next class.